So, there we go. Welcome everybody to this kind of a roundtable hangouts. We got two special guests. We have Caleb Pike and David. How do you say your last name?
Altizer. It's German,
Altizer.
so it's
Altizer. I left the links down below if you guys want to check them out. Today, what we're going to do is talk about the Canon EOS R, which is just going bananas with the news. Some people like it, some people don't like it. And we don't have a specific schedule set of what we're going to talk about. Just imagine a couple of dudes and you guys are joining in and we're just going to talk about camera gear, specifically Canon. And so, yeah, I know, Caleb, you've had the opportunity to try out the camera. Obviously, you went to Hawaii. I've also had the opportunity to try out the camera. I went to Canon in Burbank. But tell us just quickly, for those of you that haven't seen the video, a bit of your experience with the camera.
Shot with the camera was, at the announcement, they had a setup where we could use the camera for, I think it was 3 days before heading home. And it's a production version, so it was the full, it's exactly what people will get when they pre-order. A couple of the lenses were pre-production, but it was fine. It was, we were talking a little bit before we went live. It was just like a normal Canon experience, which meant a giant crop on that camera, but it worked fine. Autofocus was fine for me. Certain other people will probably be releasing some reviews and giving some more information there. So it was solid all-arounder. It's been a long time since I've dealt with C-Log, so that's been kind of a learning curve for me again. But yeah, nothing super sexy, nothing bad. It was just weird to have a flip-out screen and dual pixel autofocus.
David, David, what do you think about the camera?
Well, first off, I will say I'm sure everybody that's watching this that has seen any of Caleb's coverage over the last week, it's been a lot of fun watching all the news. But my initial response was, of course, a little bit of a Debbie Downer. We're all just dying to have full frame 4K Canon. And I think that's the main thing that everybody on the internet has been getting up in arms about. I actually have this still from back in the old days, NAB. Do you remember this? The 1DC?
Oh, yeah.
I shot on this camera for the last 3 years. I just sold it literally like a month ago and switched to the Sony a7 III and I've been really happy with it. But I've been used to this whole crop factor thing. I even considered going to the 5D4. Armando, I know that you've used the 5D4. So the crop factor really isn't as much of a real issue as people make it out to be. And Caleb made a great video about that. Armando, you made a great video about that as well. But just when it comes to the specs on this camera, compared to the competition right now, I mean, competition is tough. I mean, the a7 III is a banging camera for the price, and even the Nikon. So, yeah, I think overall, a little disappointing, especially at that price point.
So I did go to Canon Burbank, and I have some insider information. I don't want to say insider, but I mean, it's stuff that they've kind of already told us, but a little bit more refined. So I got to talk to them and I asked them, what's the deal? Like everybody, why didn't you guys do 4K? What's up with all these, handicap features? They basically told me, look, Canon, we didn't spend all this money in R&D to just have one camera. He's like, there will be a video camera or dedicated video RF version of this camera. They basically told me that. The way Canon works and the way he explained it to me was Canon does things where they're going after let's just say the average consumer first, and then they work their way up. Typically, that's how brands work in order to, make money. Look at it like Tesla. In order for Tesla to succeed, they had to come out with a Model 3, the affordable version of a car. That is exactly the same or similar way that Canon works. They work. The way he explained to me is we work in reverse. We work with the average consumer first, and then we work our way to the pro cinema line. So I understand why people are upset. I get it. But I also think this is not the camera for pro video shooters. What do you think, Caleb? Do you agree? Especially since you've had more time with it?
Yeah, I mean, they made a big deal about how, like, whenever I said in my video, whenever I pushed them on it, they were like, oh, but it's better this way. And it's like, no, not. I mean, if you guys could deliver I'd love to see a Canon camera with a 6K sensor that downsampled that to 4K. That would be insane. And then it always ended after I kept pushing them with like, well, just go buy a cinema camera. Stop messing around with these little cameras. And even, you know, that would be amazing if they are doing what you're saying, and I'm sure that'll happen eventually. But we all know that's not going to be $2,000. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
we're
no
going
way.
to be talking 1DC, 1DX money.
And the thing is too, if you look at the history of Canon, like the 5D Mark II really revolutionized, I mean, everything. That's why we're here now, is because of the 5D Mark II. And that was on accident. Like they did not really plan on that happening. And even the 1DC, I mean, that camera, like they were serving people, okay, you want a 4K DSLR? Here you go. It's $15,000. So it wasn't only until 2 years ago that I could afford one. So it's but the thing that sucks, I know that Armando, especially because you're a C200 shooter, I've shot with all the cinema cameras professionally as a cinematographer and director. They're just workhorses and they make amazing pictures. And when it comes down to it, like at the end of the day, clients always are happy with the footage. And as an operator, Canon cameras just have kind of a mojo to them. And I don't know, Caleb, if you felt that when you held the camera and experienced using it.
Yeah, I mean, it had all that, you know, the Canon, the things like, for instance, they were so freaked out by having a sensor that close to a lens opening. Panasonic, or no, Sony and Nikon don't care. It's just like, whatever, it's a sensor. Canon, the engineers were so freaked out that it was that close to the elements that they put that shutter mechanism in, which, you know, I have right here, and it works great. Like, that's the camera off. You can't really see, I guess, but the shutter's closed. And when you turn the camera off with a lens on, in a couple milliseconds, three things happen. That shutter closes, the lens stops all the way down, so there's not as much light entering the lens, and it also, the focus automatically goes to minimum focus, so that if you put it on a table at the beach and the sun is pointed right at the glass, it won't like burn the hole through that little shutter door. So there's all that kind of stuff, right? And like, just like you guys, I started with Canon DSLRs, and you know, I mean, my 5D Mark II had like screws rattling in it, you know, from being so old, and it, you know, kept working. But what kills me is like all those Canon arguments, I think, are eventually going to be null. And what is Canon going to do about it when that happens? Because let's be honest, Sony is really working hard on their color science, the whole Venice thing. It's come a long way. Armando, you've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
Or you just look at a A7S II versus the A7 III. It's a pretty big difference. Panasonic is really getting strong with their, I mean, Vlog is my favorite log profile. It just works so well. Their cameras are really solid. I've never had any issues with that. So I think Sony's probably the weakest on that front because they put the bleeding edge stuff out there. So you're going to get overheating occasionally and all these little things. But Panasonic is really strong. And now that Fuji is clearly in it to win it on the video front, someday it's, like I said in that video, like the market's going to hurt somebody. And I don't think it's going to be Fuji, Panasonic, or Sony.
Do you think user experience is important? Like I look at Canon a lot like Apple. If you guys remember, like the Apple didn't have the larger display, didn't have a lot of things that Android had. And everybody was like, oh, my Android phone can do this. My Android. And I see this competition between Canon versus all. It's like Canon still can't do that, right? But if you look at Apple and their user experience, and there's a reason why they're number one. You know, I mean, number one in terms of like the most richest company in the world, or worth. Do you think that user experience is more important? Because I look, when I looked at the camera and I actually used it, I didn't get a chance to use it a lot. I probably used it for about 30 minutes or so when I was at Canon Burbank. And this might sound like a little bit like a fanboy, but just holding the camera, right? Like just using it, it had this familiar feel, right? Where it felt good in the hands. And I haven't used that word in a long time since reviewing phones. We say, oh, this phone feels really good in the hand. And that's the thing, when you pick up that Canon camera, it felt really good in the hands to use. One of the things I remember, I had a conversation with a friend of mine when we switched to Sony. Excuse me. We talked about this, how when we first switched to Sony, like we didn't have that desire to grab the camera, like, and just go out and shoot. Like we talked about, like, he had a 60D, and he talked about, oh, I remember when I had my Canon camera, I would take my camera everywhere I would go. I would just put it in my car, and that would just be like my thing. I feel like I mean, by the way, Sony today has changed drastically compared to how they were a year or two ago. We have overheating issues that obviously they're not as bad anymore on certain cameras. So those are the things. You guys feel like those experiences, like overheating, things not working right, the menu system, all that clunkiness, where Canon, yeah, it may take them a while, but it's refined. What do you think about that? Or what do you guys feel about that?
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I mean, I remember watching a behind the scenes of The Hobbit, and they were shooting on red epics, and Peter Jackson was saying that almost every take one of the reds would go down. So like these things are computers with sensors on them. I'm not debating that. Like, I can totally vouch with what you're saying, Armando. My experience with Canon has been pretty flawless in terms of, like, I've dropped my camera before and it works fine. Like, at the end of the day, it just delivers and it's good. But in terms of the user experience thing, like, because now the crop, you're right, like the crop does not matter that much. In fact, it's the exact same sensor size as the Red Raven, which a lot of people use for cinema. And like you've said in your video, Armando, nobody complained about that. But the thing that is kind of frustrating for me is, like, the GH5S, it has a similar sensor size as the crop in the 4K on the EOS R, but there's lenses that match that sensor size really well. Like, you can buy these Voigtlander 10mm f0.9 aperture manual focus lenses. You can get a 12-35 f2.8, and I don't see Canon making lenses to serve that crop factor. Now, I know that APS-C lenses are close enough, and I get, that's good enough. We have the EFS lenses, the Sigma 18-35 lenses, of course, PL Super 35 lenses would work too, but it's just kind of a bummer that, like, the sensor size, we're not ever going to really see lenses designed for that. But again, fast forward 2 years from now, we will have everything we want. So in terms of user experience right now with the EOS R compared to other manufacturers, I haven't held it, so I don't know. I'm sure it was magical. My experience with Canon has always been amazing when I hold the camera. But in terms of some of those things, like no 1080, 120, like, those are things that inspire me. I love shooting 120 at 1080. And losing that would be a big bummer, especially without even autofocus. I know the R doesn't have that. No 4K at 60. I don't have that, now. But my buddy was over here with his GH5 the other day. We shot 4K at 60, and that was inspiring. That was fun, So that argument can definitely be used for Canon in a lot of ways, but it could also be used for other cameras too.
I mean, but think about this for a second. If you go back even 6 months ago, let's just go back in time 6 months, back 6 months ago, everybody still wanted the 1DX Mark II. And if you look at the 1DX Mark II compared to the EOS R, they have a lot of things in a lot of things in common. You have, first of all, one SD card slot, which nobody seemed to complain about the 1DX. Nobody ever made a big deal about the one SD, or being able to shoot with that one SD card. Now all of a sudden it's like a big deal. That was like 6 months ago.
What do you mean? What do you mean it has two CFast cards in it?
Yeah, but you can record simultaneously.
Gotcha.
So that's the thing. Yeah, you can record one or the other.
Yeah. Gotcha.
The other thing is, you have this 8-bit 422 internal, but no 10-bit 422, which we kind of had a little small discussion before the show. And I still think, and I agree with Caleb, he said that he doesn't believe that a lot of people are giving Canon credit in terms of their codec, their high bit rate. In terms of video shooters, that is really big. That's a big deal that even the 1DX Mark II doesn't have. Something else that the 1DX Mark II doesn't have is C-Log. A lot of people complained about that. How is it possible that the Canon 5D Mark IV, which is much cheaper, had an upgrade path of $100 to get C-Log, but yet the 1DX Mark II doesn't? And if you see people like Peter McKinnon, Casey Neistat, they all shoot with the 1DX Mark II. Doesn't have a flip-out display, which they are vloggers. You know what I mean? The 1DX Mark II also has a crop. It's a minor crop. It's not 1.7. I believe it's either 1.3 or 1.4. I'm not sure. I think it's 1.3.
It's 1.3, but because it's Cinema 4K, when you crop to UHD, it's kind of like 1.4. So
right. So it's it's almost like a Super 35. So if you look at the 1DX Mark II, which is what, $6,000 or whatever, and if you compare it to the EOS R, there's a lot of similarities. Granted, you don't get the 60p 4K, but then again, it's not $6,000. And that was only 6 months ago. I just want to see, or I want to know why all of a sudden things have changed in the last 6 months? Is it because now, same thing, and I talked about this before, when I shot with my A7S, A7S2, A7R2, A6300, A6500, basically almost every Sony camera, they only had one SD card slot. Nobody said anything. Nobody complained. You can go back and watch those videos. All of a sudden, Sony starts adding 2 dual card slots, and it's like that's a mandatory thing. It must have it, or else like screw this camera.
I think it's because like it was mainly a photography thing, you know, mostly those people like the Tony Northrups and all those folk. And maybe they just like, wow, $2,000 and we get two card slots, and so that became a thing now.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I agree with you, Armando, too. Like cameras I've used in the past that have 2 card slots, I don't use them. So
yeah. And I think the main thing that ticks people off, and like you said just a little bit ago, people weren't freaking out about the stuff before this camera, or 6 months ago, or whatever you're saying. I think what's killing people is there's a big group of people that have 5D4s. Maybe they have some cinema stuff, or they're not ready to jump up to a C200 and they're curious. They're like, ooh, Canon's going to come out with something, and they're going to wait and see what happens. Meanwhile, they're watching everyone like, you know, in the Sony fun inflated house, you know, having a good time, the whatever those are called, bouncy houses. You know, 4K full frame, you know, dual card slots and body stabilization. This is great. Autofocus is awesome. Sony's color science is improving. And they're like, oh, that looks kind of fun, but Canon's coming out with something. And then there's the people who have been using Sony and thinking about going back to Canon, because there's a lot of people who have flip-flopped. A lot of people that I don't think we think about that like went to Sony around the A7S II. Yeah. But like that only had that, and now they're like, do I stick with this or do I go back to Canon? Then this camera drops, and it's just a big old bucket of pee in everybody's face.
that's a really good way to look at it, Caleb. I think that's a really good way to describe the upset, because if like logically speaking, like this camera is great. Like if you were to go back 2 years ago and say, do you want this? Everybody would say, yes, that's awesome. And even now, like if you just pause, cool down, and just like, it'll be a great 1080p camera. Caleb, you actually verified, I think, that you can do 10-bit 1080 out in full frame, right?
That's 90%, I think, confirmed. It depended on who you talk to at Canon. Some people look really confused. Other people are like, yeah. So
okay. Well, if that's the case, that would be, I mean, that's a great production camera, full frame and Super 35, 1080, Canon log, 10-bit. I mean, that's cool. But yeah, I think the way Caleb just described it is really good, because like all my friends switched to Sony. Like I actually did a shoot the other day, and like there was only one guy left with a C100, and he told me today that he sold it and he's buying an A7 III. So like now when I work with my friends in freelance world, everybody has Sonys. So like if I show up with a Canon, it doesn't match all their cameras.
Do you find that, I see this a lot, I just want to know from your experience, do you find that a lot of Sony shooters are still using Canon glass, or have they completely switched? Because I find that almost every Sony person that I've met is using a Canon EF mounted lens.
Oh yeah, totally. 24-105 f4. Everybody's got it. The Canon.
So do you feel that's like the holding grace? Like they're just, and that's why people are upset, is because it's like they're using Sony because they're like content, but they really, really deep down inside, they want to jump to Canon because they just feel that, you know, they love the experience.
they want their old girlfriend back.
That's how I feel.
They're hanging on to that, like that key or whatever.
I agree with you on that.
I think hearing you guys talk about how the guys like were saying that it just wasn't technologically possible to do it, like that might be more of an issue of like if Canon threw more money at their engineers, maybe they could, like Sony seems to literally have just simply better engineers. I mean, to do what they're doing, right? I mean, it might just literally be a race of technology.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they have bad engineers. I think they have some of the best engineers on the planet. Like the stuff they're doing with this, like just little things like the shutter, the lenses, the way they engineered that. A lot of people are ripping on the multifunction bar. I kind of like it. I think with a couple tweaks, it could work. And could be, you can expand it so much. So I think it's brave that they're doing some tweaks there. And like, just I actually met the guy who designs the bodies before they, like, he had a table, and I've got video somewhere of it. He had a table with his original drawings for this camera, and like all his iterations up to the point where they like he made one out of clay, and then they 3D printed one. He put more clay on it, and like this guy is an animal, right? And they make some of the best ergonomics ever, right? It's just like going back to your, reliability. It's like a Toyota Corolla or Camry. Yeah, it's gonna last forever, but people are tearing around Teslas, and they have AI in their cars, and so we kind of want that too, Whereas Sony, like, they just throw it all out at everybody, and it could be interesting to it'd be interesting to see what their margin strategies are. Like if Sony's just like, we're gonna sell truck metric ton loads of these, and then Canon's making it on the what's the word I'm looking for? The overhead or the lack thereof.
But we can't forget this is still, and I think this is where a lot of people are not understanding. This is their entry level camera. This is basically like the beginning of many things to come. And I guess that's what gets me excited when I see the technology behind the EOS R. Like I love those adapters that have like the ND filters and stuff like that. Or even not only that, where you can program it. Like you can essentially take any lens and make it into a cinema declicked aperture ring, right? I mean, to a degree.
Sort of, yeah.
Right. So the thing is, like, to me, that's what gets me excited is the technology behind it. Because I know that when they release the 1DX, EOS R version, or if they make a, 1DC, like the cinema style with that mount, it's dedicated for video guys. Because remember, this is like, when I talked to the guy, he basically said, this is the camera that is obviously entry level, but is going to get somebody excited. Like imagine somebody's just getting into photography, right? Or getting into video or getting into both. They pick up this camera and it's like getting their feet wet. That's exactly how he put it to me. He's like, this is a camera that's just going to get them excited. And it can go either way. It can go for video or it can go for photography. It works really well on both platforms. Now, those people that pick this camera up, they're not going to care about, a crop factor or anything like that. They're just average people. And I think, this happens a lot in the phone world where Android versus iOS, these guys go bananas over specs or anything like that. But then you start asking your buddy with an iPhone and you say, hey, did you know about, you have this new feature? And they're like, huh? What are you talking about? They're like clueless. I feel that a lot of people still don't realize that we are still the minority of the camera world compared to the masses. And I think that's where it gets lost. Like everybody feels like, oh, I'm a video shooter. Canon doesn't offer all these features, so nobody's going to buy this camera, which is false because that does not appeal to the masses.
I mean, for photography, this is a great camera for sure. Yeah,
I'd agree. I mean, the photographers there, which was like 95% or more of everybody, seemed to really dig it. I guess the thing that just bugs me the most is we all know that Canon's not going to change. And we all know that there'll never be something priced at around $2,000 that's as good or even close to as good as the A7 III. So $2,000 that can match that, it's just never going to happen. So if that's people's budgets, which, you're totally right. We're definitely still a niche, but that's changing, I think. Because I feel like there was a while there, the 5D came out, and Canon and Nikon and Sony and everyone started doing their thing, right? Panasonic. And there was a good while where it's just like, okay, video. And then almost around like Peter McKinnon and maybe a year before him, it started to amp up. And now it's like, I think it's a sign that 10-bit is showing up out of nowhere. As this race gets heated up, like 10-bit, that's a thing now. Well, yeah, I was thinking that was going to be 2-3 years out from now, but it's like everywhere.
It blew my mind. The XT3 is $1,500 and it's doing 10-bit 4K 60 internal.
And that kind of thing is going to get Sony. Like, yes, Sony, or I'm sorry, Panasonic. No, Canon. Oh, so many numbers and specs running through my mind right now. Oh man, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I think it's a great analogy with Apple. I feel like it's slightly different though, because Apple, in some regards, their tech is off the charts, right? Yes, their hardware is old, but the way their software performs with the hardware is like ridiculous.
But it goes
So,
back to user experience, you know? I mean,
right, but their workhorses still,
And
and
they're
maybe
still
not in every regard.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the keynote today. Did you guys watch it? The new A12 Bionic is like freaking bananas. The processor in that thing.
They need to start selling processors to Canon to catch up.
what do you guys think the A7S III needs to have to really basically just put Canon in, bury it basically? What do you think what does the A7S III need to have so it could be successful?
Go ahead, Dave.
As much as I want to put flip screen as number one, I do realize that's very niche. I would love to have a fully articulating screen, but I doubt it. They're going to probably use the same body that they've been using. There's a rumor floating around that they made a new body, but that's number one for me. But 4K 60 would be fabulous. 10-bit internal would be insane. I doubt they would do that. I think they would do it on the output on the HDMI. And then like something similar to GH5 with the slow-mo, 180 frames per second, 1080 would be cool. It's a smaller megapixel count, so hopefully that their processor can handle that. And Venice Color Science is the thing that's been floating around. And if they did that, that would be kind of that'd be pretty insane.
I'm looking at the comments right now, and almost everyone is saying flip screen, which I think is ironic because it's almost like if you took the best of the EOS R and you took the best of the A7 III, like you'd have the perfect camera. And this is my whole argument. It's like when I did that whole rant video, Canon did some certain things right, so you can't dismiss them for that. And the same thing with the Sony A7 III. It's like the Sony A7 III, which is my favorite camera from Sony right now, is still missing a lot of features that the Canon EOS R has. In a perfect world, they would be, meshed together. But there are certain things that to me are more important, and full frame is not one of them, at least for me.
Yeah. I think if Sony did let's say just 3 things when we know they're gonna do one of them. If they just did 3 things, they could single-handedly stomp out Canon in this under $5,000 market and Nikon before they even ship. Excuse me. And that is flip out screen, which there are rumors out there, but if they do the flip out screen and 10-bit out and have a low megapixel count, which we know they're going to do, so the low light's going to be off the charts, that's it. Yeah, they'll probably include some other stuff, but dude, if they do that, Nikon's gone, because the only reason I pre-ordered that camera was 10-bit full frame 4K. Only camera in the world right now, spec-wise, that says it can do it, right?
Other than the C700, but
well, yeah, under $2,500, I can do it. And then if it has a flip out screen, dude, that's it for the EOS R, at least, and people in that under $5,000 range. I mean, 10-bit 4K full frame, low light, flippy screen. I mean, if people like Maddie are switching to the A7 III now, Maddie Hapoya,
A7 III is good, man. I like that camera a lot.
One thing that I was like the adapters with the ND thing are fabulous on the EOS R, and I really wish that other manufacturers would do this. I think it's brilliant. But one thing that Sony and Panasonic have that I did not see with Canon, and that's not including IBIS, of course, is that interface shoe on the top that allows you to have XLR inputs on the A7 series and the GH5. That's another cool benefit for video, is having XLR inputs.
That's a great point. That they don't have something there. I would imagine they would do something with that. But yeah, it's nuts. Trying to remember what I was gonna also add to that. With the A7S. but I forgot.
How are the preamps, Caleb? Did you
Oh.
test that on the R? Sorry.
I have not. No, you're totally fine. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I definitely want to put it up against. I'm going to try to do like a full comparison of A7 III versus this, the GH5S versus this. Some people are asking for GH5 versus this, but I don't think that's really necessary. I mean, it's just going to win in like the 8 things that it has that so I feel like the S is more comparable. But going back to your adapters thing, you got to know that the Chinese companies are going to make those things. There will be a year when that's the thing, when we all have electronic ND and those little adapters.
But isn't that interface locked down for Canon? That's what I heard.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, someone's gonna come out with just like they'll figure out a really good, like, those fader NDs exist already, but they're really bad. You know, those like Canon to Sony adapters that are out there.
Right.
But once they figure out that or electronic ND, essentially kind of what Aperture did, but better, because
or the FS5.
Yeah, the Aperture thing is gold. You know, Aperture's little adapter.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's just the ergonomics are unusable.
Do you mean photo deox, or because you said Aperture?
No, I meant Aperture. Aperture makes an electronic ND adapter.
I don't know. I have to check.
It's totally clean too. Like there's no
it's great.
color shift.
Except actually, it's in the next room, but it's got this terrible thing hanging off of it, and you can't attach it to the camera if there's anything attached to the camera at all. So if they clean that up a little bit with all these low light sensors, I mean, I think that's going to happen before long, and then everyone will have, like, all it takes is one, like, PhotoDiox, like you said. That'd be a great company to figure it out, because they would make like 50 adapters, all these different versions, and then you'd be off to the races. Yes, you won't have the thing with Canon is you get the great autofocus and the adapter, because that's the ticket.
I think, to me, that's the most underrated feature still on Canon cameras is the dual pixel autofocus. In fact, I was shooting a video yesterday with my Sony A7 III at night. I had to send something really quick to someone. And at night, it wasn't even, well, there's still some light, no focus at all. And I'm using a native lens. I'm using the 1635 G Master. And I know my C200, it could be literally almost pitch black, and you could just see the outline of my face, and it will lock in focus so well. And to me, that is the reason, one of the biggest reasons why I still use Canon, is their autofocus is just insane. And what I mean by insane is, like, I'm not a fan of like the artificial autofocus where it's like you see it rack focusing and it has that like jitter and bounce move, which the Sony A7 III has gotten a lot better, but you still have that weird, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where the image kind of jumps, back and forth. You don't really see that at all with Canon. It's so smooth. And I think, again, it goes back to that user experience. Somebody who's vlogging, somebody who's using, especially like, well, I'm speaking for myself here, but as a one-man team, dual pixel autofocus. Like right now, I literally have the Sigma 18 to 35, and it's autofocus is on right now. I mean, it's locked on. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and one other thing that I really love that this camera has is that amazing manual focus assist feature that's on the C200, where, like, if you're using, so I actually have a full set of Contax Zeiss lenses that I use all the time because they just have this beautiful filmic look to them, really cinematic look, manual glass, all manual, no electronics, and it's utilizing that dual pixel autofocus. So you can basically line up, if it's tracking somebody's face, it shows you when you lock onto that. So you're not like losing your money if you're only shooting manual, because you're still using that technology while you're shooting manual. So that's pretty cool.
The EOS R has that. And
that's what I was saying.
Yeah, I love that feature. Yeah, absolutely. That when people are saying, oh, it doesn't have gosh, I can't think of the word where it shows you the lines. Gosh.
Zebras.
No, the other one. I can't think.
Waveforms.
No.
Peaking.
It doesn't have peaking. I saw a video.
It does.
Well, initially when people were saying like, oh, it doesn't have peaking, and it has the assist, I'm like, dude, assist is way better than peaking. I would take that any day of the week, just because it is 100% accurate. Like you said, if you want to nail focus manually, I love that feature on the Canon.
And the M50, when we got the Canon M50 for review, we made like I don't know, 7 videos. Caleb was making fun of me because we made too many videos about it on Kinotika. But that camera, the M50.
Oh, M50. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. And that camera came with 4K with with focus peaking on it, and and I noticed the bitrate on it was pretty good. It was like 150. So I'm assuming that's the same as the IPB codec on the R. That's what I was saying in the video. Is like this is a little hint of what's to come in the future. And like for some reason, like the 5D4 and the 1DX, they don't have my freaking 1DC that is a cinema camera, has a C on it, didn't have focus peaking built in. It's the dumbest thing in the world. So really great to see the focus features on the R for manual focus.
Caleb, you're right. See, it's like a girlfriend. He's holding on to that thing like a picture frame of his cinema. Yeah, that of the brochure.
I miss it.
Like why are you holding that? Holding on to that. It's like I'm just teasing you, bro.
It's a visual aid. I thought it'd be good for the stream.
Should we jump into the chat and see what people have to say and answer a couple questions? I think that would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so if you guys want to snag a couple, there's a lot of stuff going on, so I guess we'll just kind of randomly pick somebody. Let's see. Feel free to. There was one from Carlos Timothy. He's like, it's actually not underrated, I think. Canon's autofocus is rated appropriately. Everyone knows they have legendary AF. Underrated. Come on, man. You can control AF speed settings in A7 III menu. And I did respond back in the chat room. I have control. I know how to do that. And you can set it to either slow or how it ramps up, but it just doesn't have that smooth. I mean, I've shot with Canon a lot, and it just looks like somebody's actually rack focusing. It works really good. A7 III or EOS R. Ooh, that's a good one. Gosh, I think it's two completely different cameras for different situations. I don't personally have the camera here. I mean, I guess Caleb could probably send me some footage. Hint, hint. But what I would like to do is I would like to see how well it matches with my C200. In other words, if I shot the exact same frame and I literally dropped my LUT on there, would I have to do any changes at all? Would it match up right away? Because if it matches up to a T, or even if it's just slightly off, that would be the perfect B cam for the C200.
Yeah, that's a great point. If it's me making that decision, I can still see where the EOS R could be solid. Like if you're in and out corporate video, all you do is like interviews, for example. You're locked off on sticks, and that's what I used to do. You know, we didn't really need a lot of this fancy stuff that we have now, which is awesome. We just on sticks, and that camera would be pretty solid. I will say you're probably going to end up spending a significant amount more. Like camera and lenses wise, it's actually pretty close. Like if you buy the 24 to 105 kit, right, with the EOS R, it's like $3,400. That's $100 more than the Sony method of doing that, the Sony A7 III. But if you're doing really anything else and you don't need that high, it's just going to come down to the high data rate. For me, the high data rate and crop, if you're okay, or if you want the high data rate and the other stuff that Canon has to offer, that's fine. But for me, it's probably the A7 III, because the full frame, the lens line is really doing well, and again, Sony's just going nuts, and it looks like they're going to keep doing it, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's what I was thinking too, Caleb. Is like if you invest in Sony as an investment, like they're gonna try to kick Canon's ass as hard as possible. Like they just are. And
I love Sony glass, the G Master, and the stuff that they have. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a really well built lens, and the color rendition, everything about. I mean, I tell this to a lot of people. I go, I'm a huge fan of Canon. I'm a huge fan of Sony. It's like I use two phones. I use an Android phone and an iPhone. I don't want neither of them to win or lose. At the end of the day, guys, and I try to tell people this, is as long as these giants keep competing, we as a consumer are going to win. You don't want Sony to monopolize everything, because as soon as they get comfortable, guess what? You're not going to see any innovation at all. So it's important that these companies go head to head. And that's what we're seeing right now. I think that this year, 2018, is probably the best year in terms of cameras. Like there's never been a better time to buy a camera than today. And I think you guys will agree with me on that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. And it will be better after Panasonic has that full frame out. Because then it will be literally the best time ever to buy a camera. You'll already know months and months ago what the A7S III was like and is like, and then you'll also know what's up with Panasonic. That's going to be stupid crazy.
So Armando, there's rumors that there is this 1DX equivalent of the Canon. Do we have like rough idea of when that is for people to like look forward to? Or?
They didn't tell me anything. They gave me information that's already out there. I mean, in the keynote, they said we have more cameras on the way. If I were to take a guess when this video camera, this was just my guess. This is not them telling me. Consider this a rumor or my speculation. I would say NAB of next year. That would be my,
Yeah, and if not that, then maybe Cinegear.
Right. That would be just my speculation based on the conversation that I had. Basically, the way he made it seem was like, and he didn't say it directly like this, like we're going to do the same thing Sony's doing, but just like the A7R2 is dedicated more for photographers and the A7S lineup is dedicated more for video guys, that's exactly what they're going to end up doing. And then they have the A7, which is kind of like a mixture between photography and video. Like if you really think about that, when the first A7 came out, it was like a good camera for photography and video. Then the A7R came out, which was more geared towards photographers. Then the A7S came out, which was obviously more for video guys. That's exactly what they're doing. The EOS R is that hybrid combination between, like he said, it's to get people excited about photography or video. Pick whichever one you want to use. Then the 1DX version or whatever they're going to call it for photography is going to be released.
The RR.
The RR, I know. The RS, like a car.
And
then you're going to have the video exclusive. He basically looked at me and said, there will be a video version of this mount. He goes, we did not just spend all these millions of dollars on this mount to just have one camera. Basically, like I said, they're starting from the regular average consumer and then they're working their way up. So take it for what it's worth. If you want to wait or not, I mean, like I said, this is the best time to buy a camera, I think. And even if you, like myself, and I've said this even when I did my little mini review of the A7 III, even if you go out and buy an A7 III today because you just want to experience it and use it, how much more can it depreciate in a year? It's already $2,000. That's pretty inexpensive. Like I even thought about this myself. With all these new cameras coming out, I thought, should I get rid of the A7 III or should I just keep it? And my final conclusion was I'm just going to keep it because I really like that camera. Even if I just have it as my overhead cam, you know what I mean? Like I'll just keep it. It's such a good camera that it's not really worth trying to sell it. I mean, maybe it is now because everybody wants one, but I mean, I don't
plan on it. You can make money off of it right now. He sold it.
I know.
My buddy just sold it. He bought a used C100 Mark II like last year for $2,300. He just told me today he sold it for $2,500 on eBay. So like a lot of these cameras just hold value, and Canon especially holds value. So if you buy an R now and wait for the X version to come out, you could sell it on eBay for probably the same you paid for it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how their like pre-production numbers, what that looks like, or their pre-order numbers and all that stuff.
Did you guys pre-order one?
I reluctantly did, yes.
Even though you have one.
I'm hoping it's not like my XH1, which was really hard to sell.
No,
I had to get one because Canon wouldn't let me borrow one. So
same.
I want to experience it. Look, and I did that video, the 5D Mark IV, why I switched to it. And it goes,
I saw that.
Yeah, and it goes back to I want to use it. A lot of times I feel like it reminds me of I'm into cars, by the way. Have you guys heard of this terminology called magazine racing?
No.
Okay, magazine racing is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's when a new car comes out and it shows 600 horsepower and everybody's already saying, oh, that's going to be, this car because it has more horsepower, more torque, and blah, blah, blah. But it isn't until you actually use the car, drive it, where you get to experience it and say, whoa, there's like understeer or oversteer and, the braking sucks or the acceleration has so much lag. So to me, this is exactly what it is. This is magazine racing. It's like, oh, there's a crop. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. You know, I don't want to do my troll voice because
Dude, you were about to do it.
I know. I was about
hoping
to.
you would.
I caught myself. I didn't want to do my troll voice, but you know, people get excited about these weird specs, but it isn't until you actually use it. And I said this before. I look at the EOS R like a little baby C200 because you have that 10-bit 422 high bit rate. You have that equivalent, close enough, Super 35 sensor. You have a flip out display. So as somebody who has a C200 and I need a B cam, this is why I'm so intrigued about testing the quality, because I could be completely wrong. Maybe it doesn't even match or it doesn't get close enough. And I could just say, you know what, out the door, you know, but as long as it matches perfectly, this could be a perfect companion. And again, I'm not saying the EOS R is perfect, and neither is the A7 III and no camera out there. But I think it does have a specific use for certain people. By the way, what do you guys think of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, the 4K? Since I got a lot of people, you know.
Go for it, Caleb.
Oh man, I mean, there's all this drama with Andrew Reed and John Bradley or whatever his name is. I think you gotta wait and see. Talk about magazine racing. People have been magazine racing that to death. So
can I just do the troll? Can I just do the troll voice for Andrew Reed?
Hold on, let me turn my headphones down and then go for it.
Oh, I didn't get invited to the Canon event in Hawaii.
Perfect.
If he's watching, I don't care.
I'm pretty active on the forum there, so I'm gonna meet him and
you're not gonna say anything.
By the way, we should talk about a little bit about that. How YouTubers, influencers, everybody thinks it's like, okay, Caleb, you went to Hawaii, you're technically getting paid by Canon to say good things. I think we should briefly talk about that because I think that's important. And a lot of people, especially us, I mean, we produce these videos, we give out our opinions. And I got to say, Caleb, you are one of the persons that I can honestly say I can watch your video and I trust you 100%. Like your ethics and everything are spot on. So I think that we should briefly talk about that because I feel a lot of people have this misconception that if we get flown to events, I mean, it's happened to me. I went to Sony Condo a couple months ago. And I literally took my own camera. I bought my own A7 III, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, you're just saying the A7 III is good because they took you to Sony and they're pampering you and they're doing all this stuff." And it's like, no. I always try to tell them like I can afford my own camera. Like I don't need them to give me a camera or this like Hawaii trip. Like I make good money, and I'm not just saying that to be a douchebag, you know. But it's like I don't need their endorsement, you know. I'd rather take the camera, buy with my own money, and say really what, you know, if I like it or not. So anyway, your thoughts, Caleb, because I feel like you're getting pressured a lot with this, with your video.
Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words with the ethics thing. I would say it's a lot like people's response to my live stream that I did, because Canon announced like as we're walking toward the ballrooms, we're not going to live stream this. We're leaving it up to you guys to get the word out. I'm like, oh snap, no live stream. That means people are going to be knowing the event's happening and not getting anything. So I'm like, well, I'll throw a live stream up. And LTE was like 1 bar. All the Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi message when you typed in the password for the hall was literally consumed. So there were only so many. So the stream was terrible quality. It's still up. It's just garbage. But people were like, this sucks. How dare you? What do you put this garbage up? Blah, blah, blah. And then someone essentially did the research and found out there's no stream anywhere else on the internet. And it was like, this is the only stream on the internet. And everyone's like, oh, thanks, Caleb. It's the same kind of thing. Like, this isn't, you know, I don't think I wasn't like surfing for 5 days. You know, I got there, I literally stayed in my hotel room for like most of the time we were there. I got on a boat once and we went to the lavender farm. That was the only outside activities for me. And so like I gave up 5 work days to do that. And it wasn't a Hawaii vacation, you know, different time zone, waking up extra early to make sure I can, you know, do my thing. So I'm not complaining by any means, but this isn't like, you know, I don't know how to necessarily explain it, but yeah, it wasn't. And what else are you going to do? I'm not going to spend a bunch of money to go out to this event. especially Canon. Now, if Panasonic gave me an invite and I had to pay my way to go see that, that would be a different story. But you know, someone's got to cover it.
Right.
So, I mean, do you want coverage or not? I guess.
And
So.
you know, it doesn't. And what I've come to realize doing this for now 6 years is it doesn't matter which way you go. If you say good things about something, obviously you're getting paid. If you say bad things about something, then the competition's paying you to say bad things about that company. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I've learned to just let it go and forget about it. I still felt like, you know, just maybe address it a little bit because I feel that there's people that are just jumping onto YouTube, learning the platform. They don't understand. And I think it's important to talk about it, but I've kind of tuned it out. And I always say, look, you can call me a Canon fanboy or a Sony fanboy. I use both. I'm a fan of both platforms, and they both are good and they're both are bad. And whenever I've done things or videos on either camera, I've said both positive and negative things, which, by the way, I love your EOS R video. I thought it was really well balanced. I thought that I basically mirrored the exact same thoughts. Like, you couldn't have done it better. And I just didn't even publish mine because I was like, you know what? You did a good job. Forget it.
Well, you did publish yours, right?
No, I did my troll one. That was my rant.
Oh, okay. I was gonna also say that I'm glad that I didn't do the Sony thing, the event you did, because for me this was like easy, right? Because I started with Canon, I always wanted them to, but they were at their best in my opinion when they made a mistake by accidentally releasing the 5D2. So it was easy for me to go to this event and not say great things or all positive things because it wasn't the most amazing thing ever. You, on the other hand, went from, you know, let's be honest, you weren't Sony's greatest fan, but you went to an event where the camera was literally incredible.
Right.
So that was a rough, like, I'm so glad I wasn't in your shoes because that would have sucked.
The comments were interesting because it was literally like, oh, I saw everybody else's video and you guys are all saying the same thing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, because it's that good. If people are talking about how good it is, we're all going to say the same thing. Doesn't that make sense? But everybody thought, oh no, you got paid by Sony. And it's like, watch my other videos. Like, you know, when they sent over the RX 100 Mark VI, I basically said, you know, the good things. And I was at the end, I was just like, I don't think this is the camera to buy. And, you know, my relationship with Sony hasn't changed. Like, you know, they just sent me something pretty cool the other day. But again, I don't think doing this for such a long time, cameras companies or just companies in general, they want positive, or I mean, not positive. They don't care if it's positive or negative. They just want feedback is basically what it is feedback. And same thing with the EOS R. Everybody that went to Hawaii, for the most part, you know, they say this is not good. You know, Canon, what are you doing? So I don't know. I think.
Well, you guys get the emails though, right? Where it's like, hey, I sell this monitor clamp on Amazon. Would you do review? And like, I've had a couple of inquiries about, we'll send you this if you give us a positive review, like literally. So, I mean, it does happen. And I think it's important for the creator to share their integrity and their morals maybe to their audience so that they understand that. But, you know, as far as the three of us go, I think, you know, we're all pretty, you know, we're trying our best to be as unbiased as we can.
Also, I think the most important thing that people don't realize is that it is by law. It is the law to disclose by FTC. Like, people don't realize, like, you can get not only fined, obviously your channel can, like, to me, it's not worth me losing my channel because I didn't disclose that XYZ company is paying. And I say this all the time. You can go back 2, 3, 4 years back to my videos, and every time I've been paid for a project or sponsored, I disclose it. I say, hey, you know, whatever company it is, Dell sent me this laptop, or it has a little paid promotion. It is the law to disclose that. So when people argue like, oh, you're getting paid, it's like, if I was getting paid, I would tell you, because it's the law and it's not worth me getting fined or my channel taken down, because I would lose way more money than whatever it is that they're paying me for a video.
Yeah. And there's going to be a reckoning day. Like, right now, it's all pretty softball. But with all this influencer stuff, I feel like we're only a year to maybe max 5 years away from this getting like locked down. because there's some funky stuff going on, behind closed doors, and people are abusing that left and right. And I think we got it pretty good right now, but it's because of the extreme cases. It's going to get pretty interesting, like to the point where, yeah, you have to be goody two shoes or just don't do anything for money unless it's like your own stuff. It's going to get rough, I think, or difficult. And I don't mean that like, wow, it's going to really suck to be a dirty salesman, but I don't mean that at all. But just like it's just gonna, it's like the whole adpocalypse, or something similar to that, where it's not our fault, but it's hurting the people who are obeying the rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? More than the people at the top. So
Connor Weil on the chat room is asking, does getting a piece of free gear count as sponsorship or not? That's a gray area. I always disclose, like, for example, when I did that Sony RX100, I always say Sony sent this out to me so I can check it out. So I disclose it right away so they know that I got it. And I also said at the end of the video, I have to send it back. Sadly, I don't get to keep it, But I know certain creators don't disclose when they get free products, not payment, just the product itself. They won't disclose it. I always disclose it just because I just want to be fair. And that was one of the reasons why I created this new thing called Tested Tuesdays, because I get so many, like you said, Dave, these Chinese companies send me stuff or they want to send me stuff. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to do something where it's like, I'm going to accept everything and I'm just going to be happy whether ripping it or saying it's good. It's just going to be a lot of fun where there's like no strings attached,
Yeah, I saw your little cheap monitor review that you did this week.
Yeah, like they want like, you want to review cheap monitor? Sure, like whatever, send it my way. I don't care, And it's like when I started using it, whoa, this thing's actually pretty cool. Like if I was really on a budget and I didn't want to spend a lot of money, like that would be a dope monitor. Granted, the colors are kind of whack and funky. I tried to dial it in which I got it pretty close, but it's nothing like a reference monitor. But again, if somebody just wants to use a larger display, they want to get something just to check focus or even use it as a little vlog cam, it works really good. I mean, for 100, I think it was like $34. I mean, it's not bad. I actually thought it was going to suck, but it actually turned out pretty good. So, but normally I would not accept that. I would just be like, nah, not interested. I don't care about your cheap monitor.
See, I'm pretty new to this. I've only been doing this for like 6 months now on the more full-time aspects. And so hearing you guys say all this is good for me because I'm kind of hitting that point where those things are coming at me. And like, I could tell you guys later after the stream's over, but like I've been having a hard time trying to figure out what to do, and I'm glad you guys are sharing.
Yeah, I do the same way Armando does. Just be like, Aperture sent this,
right?
So we're gonna check out this, and this, or special thanks or shout out to Aperture for sending this in or whatever. I've never done sponsorships, so I couldn't speak too much to that. Like, I feel like the affiliate income from my own content has been good enough. And I also sell camera guides. So I use that to fund the channel being sponsor free. And not knocking on anybody who's doing sponsor. I think that's cool. And I think that's, it's more ballsy, which is, it scares me. So that's one more reason I don't do it. Having to negotiate and all that stuff. But, yeah, disclosing if it's free, and then more and more, I'm just trying to buy stuff. Try to have like a fund that, money goes in, money goes out, selling equipment, because I can't keep everything. That's ridiculous.
Do you do this full time, Caleb? I'm not sure if you've ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we kind of have it's like two businesses in one: the academy and then the YouTube content creation stuff. So I just try to buy and sell. So cameras are the one thing this is the most risque thing I've ever done, or it feels like that to me. Like, oh my gosh, I have this camera for 6 weeks. Like that feels weird. I've never accepted a camera for free just because I feel like, first of all, that's the most emotional thing in our industry. People get tricked out by that. And also I feel like that's the ultimate sign that you're being kind of bought. Because once you accept that, I don't know. I feel like that's a slippery slope, the beginning of a slippery slope.
Yeah.
A light is one thing, but
well,
Canon offered.
How are you handling it then?
What?
With that all being said, this is your first time. Like, what are some rules that you've put for yourself?
Oh, just it's easy. It's like having a pre-production model, and it goes back to them. So now, if they pull any funky business with like, actually just hang on to it, and we'll let you know if we need it back, then I'm gonna be like, all right, start a live stream, EOS R giveaway. because if I'm like, would I keep it? Like, I don't know. I just don't want to go there with stuff like that. Like, the sign of me pre-ordering and putting my coin toward a camera, that alone is like part of the review process, you know? Like, if I'm not gonna buy it, then I shouldn't be reviewing it, probably.
Yeah, like, let's look at the old school way of doing it. Consumer Reports, did they accept things from people back in the old days?
Right.
Or did they buy it out? I think like that's just the best way to be fair, right?
Yep.
Buy
absolutely.
it.
If you're gonna be like the most clean and pure driven, whatever I'm trying to say, you know what I mean?
It's funny because I kind of switched my whole model or business model this year too. I used to do a lot of sponsorship deals previous to this year, and I just completely stopped. I'm like, you know what? I've downsized it. I've done less than 80% or my ratio is 80% less than it was last year for the same reason. It's like we make really good money doing affiliate, income and the other incomes that don't require to basically do sponsorships. But yeah, I agree with you on that, Caleb. It just, I feel personally that I would rather do videos on stuff that I want to do. Because that to me is like more fun. Because that's how I started YouTube. I started doing YouTube, doing fun things that I wanted to do. When you start mixing money and sponsorship deals, it's just like, it feels like a job, and it's like no longer fun anymore. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Because it's not so much that you don't believe in the product that you're they're sponsoring. It's more because now you have deadlines to meet. Now you have more responsibilities where it's like, you know what? I got the EOS R. Should I put out a video today? Whatever. I'm going to do something else. I'll do it next week. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So when you're dealing with companies and brands, it's like, well, we need this tomorrow and we need this now. And that added pressure, I don't like. I mean, I've always been a self-employed entrepreneur, so I just don't like somebody telling me what to do.
And
yeah, totally.
It gets you like, even now. And I at one point I was like, that's it, I'm out. Because it's one of those like, oh, let me see if every video that I need to do / want to do, let me put it on the calendar. And it's like, oh, there goes 6 months. It just weighs you down and you're stuck doing that stuff. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I still, to this day, it's like, here we go. Because there's gear that I want to get to that I've discovered, or like I personally, I've purchased, or like kits and all the stuff I want to do, or tutorials, and it sneaks up on you. And it for whatever reason, it's always like, all lands around the same time. So I just more and more, I told my wife, if I come upstairs and like, hey, thinking about this review, blah, 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 she's just supposed to start beating me until I say that. So
the thing that kind of keeps me sane is, I don't know if you guys have consumed any of my content, but I just try my hardest to like make things as funny as possible and as entertaining as possible with my editing style. I'm really inspired by like H3 Productions and Tim and Eric.
Let me know if you ever need a troll voice.
Oh, dude, absolutely. We'll get you in there. You need to be like our dedicated troll guy with that voice. That'd be so funny. So yeah, that's what I try to do, is just like, I think any creator needs to do that. Instead of just focusing on the short-term growth strategy of your channel, just like make sure that you're doing stuff that you actually enjoy doing. Because if you actually become successful doing something that you don't enjoy doing, then now you're that guy. So
right. I think we're gonna wrap it up soon. Let's I guess let's just go back on the Canon EOS R. We got it straight away a little bit there. Let me ask you guys a question. Obviously, we know that the EOS R is not the ideal camera for video guys like us. If you can add one feature that's missing on that camera, only one, that you would say, you know what, if it had this, like it would just change everything, what would it be? We'll start with you, Caleb.
Easy 4K crop, no crop.
Okay.
Because then, I mean, then it's all there, man. Great autofocus, high bit rate, 4K full frame, flip out screen. And I've been rocking the GH5S without stabilization. People are really getting the stabilization thing going on, but I think you have to put a ton of R&D into that to get it right. And I don't think Canon's there. So I would gladly, that would be my number one thing.
ProRes RAW out. I'm just kidding. That would be cool though, right? That's completely impractical. I would definitely agree with Caleb. That was the first thing that I thought of. It would kind of definitely settle the arguments for sure too.
And that's what I thought they were going to do. Like leading up to this, before all the rumors came out of the new body and what sensor was used and all that, I was like, you know what? They're just going to do something really boring. They're going to give us 4K full frame with dual pixel. That's it. And they didn't even give us that. So, but yeah, that's the one I would choose. How about you, man?
I guess, yeah, I think the crop would probably be it. I know it seems like the easy way, the crop.
It's literally a big deal.
One of the best features that Sony has, which by the way, you can have a no crop, but you may not have this feature. And I think this is one of the most underrated features in the Sony lineup, is being able to switch from full frame and Super 35 with a push of a button.
Yes, Lord. Praise him.
That is like, basically you are taking your lens and you are doubling it. So you have, if you have a 24 mil lens, you becomes like a 55 also, or 54, or whatever. I'm not really good at math. You have basically two focal lengths, and the ability to do that on Sony has just been awesome, especially if you're using prime lenses.
We're probably not going to have that on the A7S.
And also the they don't call it digital zoom, they call it something else. It's
clear image zoom.
Clear image zoom is also is badass, basically.
Fun fact, I'll give you a little sneak peek into my upcoming A7 III guide, which should be out this week for those listening. Now that I got that out of the way.
We're ending the stream. We're ending the stream.
Yeah, right. Clear image zoom up to 1.5, which is where the crop mode does.
That's the max, right? 1.5
right.
is, yeah.
Well, if you, depending on your settings for digital versus clear image zoom only. But at any rate, up to 1.5 times with clear image zoom is almost identical, pretty much identical to the quality of Super 35. So I recommend don't program a button to the Super 35, program it to clear image zoom, because then you have like 7 settings between full frame and Super 35.
Thank you. It was worth the shameless plug. Thank you very much. That was that was a good tip, Caleb. You redeemed yourself. That was awesome.
Okay, good.
Do you still have the stretched issue?
Yeah.
When you're on full frame with the clear
that's a good question. I don't know about clear image zoom. I think it's still there, but I'm not sure, because it starts at full frame and it's going to slowly encroach on, but it's all over 4K, which is awesome.
Ever since you made that video, I've just become so obsessive with that. Like every single shot. Yeah, like we have to fix everything by 1%. It drives me crazy. I had to write a note to an editor because I'm shooting a actual documentary.
You're no joke.
Yeah, like I made a README file to an editor saying, "Hey, watch this video. Make sure the x-axis is 1%." Yeah.
And by the way, I have bought Caleb's guide. I bought the A6300 guide, and it was awesome. I learned so much. So absolutely, you guys should buy his Sony. Is it going to be A7 III, right? It's going to be an A7 III guide, right?
Yes, and thank you. You didn't have to do that.
No. But seriously, I mean, here's the thing. It's like I bought it. I mean, I'm not sure if you can check, but I did buy your guide a long time ago. In fact, I even sent out a tweet, which was like 2 years ago. I said, dude, this guide was awesome. You guys should buy it. And Caleb, send it to me for free after the stream. Okay.
I've never bought it, and I don't plan on buying this one.
Thanks, ass.
I was just trying to balance it
know.
because you're so
I know.
Before people start saying that I'm getting paid by Caleb, right?
Yeah, and I will also add, while we're still talking about sort of the crop thing, you can turn it on when you're in HD. You can turn the crop mode on if you want.
Interesting.
Whatever. So if you're shooting 1080p and you want to punch in, you can totally do that on the.
You're talking about the R?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so you could use, if you want to vlog with your 10 to 18 in 1080, you can do it too.
Nice.
Right.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. It was awesome. We went a little bit over an hour, but I think we had a lot of fun. We definitely want to do this again. Make sure to subscribe to Caleb and also David's channel. They will be linked down below if you're not subscribed already. But thank you guys for tuning in. And again, this was a lot of fun, and you guys will catch me in the next one.
Make sure you all subscribe to Armando too. And thanks for having us, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you so much, Armando. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome, man.